Welcome to The Pursuit, a podcast produced by the Junior Board of the Chicago Midwest chapter of the National Academy of Television and Arts and Sciences, otherwise known as NATAS. We're a group of emerging media professionals seeking insight from leaders in our fields. I'm Abbas, a freelance creative producer, and I'll be your host for this episode. Today, I'm speaking with Sylvia L Jones, a two-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, screenwriter, and producer based in Chicago. Sylvia's story inspired me as she navigated her ambitions in the industry. In my early career, I also started in broadcast journalism. And as I've transitioned into film, I've gone through phases in and out of what it means to really be in this industry. We hope you enjoy our conversation. Hi, my name is Abbas Tayebali, and today I'm with Sylvia L Jones, a two-time Emmy Award-winning journalist and screenwriter in Chicago. Let's start off by telling me a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Well, Sylvia L Jones. I am a writer and producer. I call myself a recovering journalist because I spent the first part of my career working in television news. I spent the bulk of it at ABC7 here in Chicago and a number of other stations around the country. And then somewhere around 2015, 16, I had what I jokingly call a midlife crisis and decided that I wanted to just kind of blow up my life and live my dream. And so I quit my job, moved to LA, and set out on the little small dream of trying to become a Hollywood writer. Everybody thought I was crazy. I even had doubts about myself for a minute. It's like, am I crazy? Is this nuts? But I decided to change careers, step out on faith, give it a try. And so far it's been working. So I am a TV and film writer. And as of this recording, a striking TV and film writer.
Right.
But writer nonetheless.
So for the first question, when was the moment you knew you wanted to first pursue your career?
I don't know that there was one moment as much as a long nagging period. I first got the idea that I wanted to do, sitting in my dorm watching, a different world on Thursday nights, wondering if that was something that I could do. But I just really didn't have a roadmap as to how to do it. I didn't have any mentors. I didn't have the courage to step out and just try it. I knew I wanted to work in television. I knew I wanted to write. I knew all of those things. And journalism somehow felt safer. Of course, all these years later, I know journalism was not safer. It was not safer at all. But in my, 20-year-old brain, that's what I thought. I felt like I'd fare better at journalism. And so the spark was there all the way then. Then periodically, just throughout the years, I would just get the bug and I'd decide to write a script or enter a contest or something like that. And nothing ever materialized. Nothing ever, really went anywhere. But the spark was still there. And then back around 20, I would say 14, 15-ish, I had gone through a lot of issues just personally, a lot of, kind of personal anguish. And you start questioning everything in life. Like, what else is there? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this all there is? Kind of dealing with, some really rough, personal tragedies. I wanted to live again. I wanted to be excited. I wanted to have a new challenge, all of those things. And so I thought about my old college dream. What if I actually tried it? What if I actually gave myself that kick in the pants that, I need to get out there? And I started And I started, really thinking about it, like, well, what would that look like? At 20 something, I had really nothing. Now, fast forward, I was in my 40s with, a very established career and a good job and a house, a mortgage, 401k, like all that. But, it was the point that, all those years, it had been nagging at me. All of those years I wanted to do it. And, I got that to the point and I'm like, you only get one life to live. If not now, then when? And I'll tell you, the kind of tragedies that I had been dealing with included a couple of, actually 3 really losses of people. Both my parents and one of my closest friends passed away that period. So my bar for what the bottom was or for what failure looked like, it changed dramatically. It's like, yeah, dealing with those things. If those things didn't kill me, what's the worst that could happen if I go to Hollywood and things don't work out? So I was like, why not just try it? So to get to, again, another moment, because there's no real moment, I still didn't have the courage to just go out to California with $200 in a dream. I'm still very academic. So I found a screenwriting program at UCLA. And I kind of told myself, okay, if I get in this program, and I'm going to just check it all. I'm not going to do the program online. I'm quitting my job. I'm leaving Chicago. I'm going to LA. I'm going to throw everything I have at this. I'm going to do it. And so I guess if you really want to say a moment, I got my acceptance letter 2 weeks before it was time to start class. And that was when I had to really make a decision. Okay, so you've been doing all this talking. Are you going to actually do this? Are you going to actually, quit your job and pursue? And I'll tell you, even then, I was still nervous. I was trying to hedge my bets. Well, maybe I could take a leave of absence from work. Well, maybe not totally quit. Maybe I can still kind of freelance. Maybe, you know what I mean? I kept trying to hedge my bets. Like, I know I said I was going to dive into the deep end, but maybe if I could just put my toe, maybe, And then it became very apparent that wasn't going to work. And there was no security. There was no safety net. There was no, I could just hold my job here and try to do that. And if it doesn't work out, there was none of that. And so at that moment, I had to make a decision. Am I going to pursue my dreams and blow up the life that I've built, or am I going to play it safe? And so I guess if there's a moment, the moment that I realized that there was no hedging my bets, and I had, I had to give my 2 weeks notice to say, I'm going to move to California and go for this school program that had no promise of a job or anything connected to it. I guess that was the moment. I don't know if that was the moment I decided or that was just the moment I acted or whatever, but that was probably the biggest moment that propelled me when I said, yeah, I'm just going to check it all and see what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like those opportunities, like when it comes in front of you, you ultimately just have to make that choice. Like, I think I felt like I resonated with your career background a lot in terms of coming from news, wanting to start to be more into film and narrative works. But I kind of just struggled, where do I fit in that? And how do I kind of maintain that going forward? Like you said, there is no safety net. There is nothing really, there's no safe bet when going into this industry. So I really love how when you see that opportunity, when you had that chance to really take it and take it with stride. So I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you think your ambitions run down over time, or do you think it's still just chugging consistently as you foster your career?
I can't stop, won't stop. I'm going 90 miles an hour and hoping that that I can run through the brick wall. I really am. I mean, and I realized that, for a lot of people who've had, the kind of career that I had, they are slowing down, they're winding down, they're looking for retirement, all of those things. And at some point I want that too, but right now, I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I'm like, I feel like I came to this side of the career, obviously late in life. And I feel like I got so much to make up for. I got so much more that I want to do. And also my dream has grown so much bigger than it was when I originally started. When I moved over to entertainment, my dream literally was, I just want to see if I can get into a newsroom. If I could get into a writer's room, right. Like just any show, I wanted to see if I could get that opportunity. What would it be like to be in a writer's room? It was that simple. That happened pretty quickly for me. I was very surprised, but it did. It happened a year or so of my moving that I actually got my first opportunity to be in a writer's room. And mind you, when I say that's all I want, it hadn't occurred to me that, I want to, be on set and I want to, run a production, or none of that if I could get in a writer's room. And at the point that within like the first year when I had gotten into a writer's room and saw, kind of how, I was like, oh my God, I'm in heaven. And then I had the opportunity to be on set on a show in LA on a studio lot, that was my first time ever being on a studio lot, period. Not to mention on a major show that was Criminal Minds Beyond Borders. And then I came to Chicago working on the Chi, and I was working on set here, and most of that show is set on location, so it's throughout the city, and I get to be in my hometown. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm the mind blown emoji, Right. Like this is amazing. But it made me stop and think, this was the dream, and I'm already here. You know what I mean? And so the dream just then started growing and growing and growing. Like, I wonder if I could write a movie. Then I wrote a movie. It's like, I wonder if I could, run a set at some point. I wonder if I could have my own show. I wonder if I could have multiple shows. I wonder if I could do all of these things. And so that's what I'm striving for now. That's my next big goal. I really want to be able to have my own show. And so I got to keep working, and I got to keep running for it. It's like the dream just keeps growing. It just keeps getting bigger. There's no slowing down for me, at least not right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really enjoy like people's enthusiasm when it comes to their industry, and when their goals start aligning to like what they've been planning, and the fact that like your goals are evolving over time. That's just really incredible, because a lot of people will start out and they'll be like, oh, I want to be a big shot director. I want to be a big shot movie producer when I get into this industry. And they're kind of like missing the fact that you got to start small. You got to start small somewhere. And like that somewhere is like right where you are.
Hey there, you're listening to The Pursuit, the podcast series produced by the Junior Board of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Chicago Midwest Chapter. My name's John Owens. I'm the president of NATAS Chicago Midwest. We'll get back to this great interview in just a moment. But first, I just wanted to make sure everyone keeps an eye on the NATAS Chicago Midwest website, and we'll have information about the upcoming 63rd Annual Chicago Midwest Emmy Awards. This will take place later in the fall. And we'll also have more information on some of our workshops and special events that we have planned for this season. Our website is at chicagoemmyonline.org. So be on the lookout for some of the great events we have planned for this season. Now, back to the pursuit.
What's some advice that you would give to someone like me, or someone who's like starting out just fresh out of college? Anybody who's going into like the TV film industry, whether they're writers or wanting to, I guess, starting to produce like shows of their own.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell them first, be sure it's what you want to do, and recognize and make sure that it's, it's a passion and it's something that you really want to do, because this is not a business for the faint of heart. It's not a business for people who need safety and security, and we all do to a certain extent. But one of the questions that I get most often, people I don't even know if I should say this question, but they want reassurance that they're going to succeed. And I can't guarantee them that. I mean, I can't guarantee you'll succeed in anything, but this particular industry, there's no clear path. It's not like, if you want to be a partner in the law firm, you start off, you do the junior lawyer thing and, you move up. There's not a management training program. That said, it doesn't mean you can't do it. You absolutely can do it, but you got to be prepared to check the ego at the door. You got to be able to be prepared to do the grunt work, to work hard, and to keep working. You have to have a thick skin and know that sometimes you're going to hear no more often than you want to, but you can do it. I mean, you really, really can do it. I mean, I'm proof that you can do it. I'm not special. There's no silver spoon in my mouth. With the right amount of talent, hard work, and discipline, you absolutely can make it in this business. I say an important part of it is not just honing your skill, but also getting to know people. Don't take networking and building relationships for granted. This business has a propensity for attracting introverts, especially writers, myself being one of them. And we tend to want to just kind of isolate and be unto ourselves and, just put the work out in the world. Like, we'll put in the work and just put it out into the world. Well, sometimes you have to make sure that people know who the person is who's putting the work into the world. You have to get to know people so that they will answer your phone call or, read your script or answer your email or whatever, or make a recommendation for you. I mean, so much of my early opportunities came from word of mouth, came from people recommending me. So those are the kinds of things that you have to be willing to do. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. And also keep learning. There's no such thing as a finish line. Like, okay, now I'm great. Keep working. You can always get better. Your next script will be better than your last script. Your next short film will be better than your last short film. And speaking of that, I'll cap the advice at this. A lot of times people are looking for opportunities and they can be hard to come by. And I tell people, create your own opportunities. If you want to be a filmmaker, make a film.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a big budget, It doesn't have to be Avatar Way in the Water, Make your 5-minute film. If you have to, use your, cell phone and pop it up on YouTube or Vimeo or somewhere. Or if you can do a little bit more, make a little bit longer. Use actors, use your friends, use the people who are on your level, who you went to school with, who they need tape. Actors need an opportunity to have tape. You need the opportunity to have somebody reading your words. All of that kind of thing. Network horizontally so that everybody will lift up together. But start making your work and start diving in there where you are with your peers. You all will go up together. And also, you will have the benefit of constantly getting better because you'll be learning from the mistakes that you make as you do those small things. And then as you get bigger opportunities, you will have already honed some of those skills by doing some of those early productions on your own. So I could go on and on with advice on top of advice, but I won't. I think that's good enough.
That's amazing. Yeah. I love that go-getter attitude. I always talk to a friend and she always comes to that exact same point. It's like, you have to create that work. We have to just go out there and make it, whether you're starting small or with nothing at all. You have to just start somewhere. Everybody has to start somewhere. And that's like a really good advice to give anybody. Just like keep going, keep making what they have.
Yeah.
Amazing. How did you get onto the Chi? Let's start there. How did you become a guest writer for them back in 2018?
Well, it started at the show before. My first opportunity in LA was on set of a show called Criminal Minds Beyond Borders. And I got the opportunity to work as a production assistant in the props department. So there was nowhere in the writer's room, and I was so super excited because, as I said, it was my first time even setting foot on a studio lot. Being able to, it was amazing to me. So I was so excited. As the season started to wind down, it got to a point where, everybody was looking to wrap, and people are like, well, what are you going to do next? What's the next show you're on? And creativity, ingenuity, everything to just get that one job. And I'm like, I don't know what the next thing is. I don't know how I'm going to get the next job. And so people kept telling me, well, what you should do is hang out with the other production assistants, because they will know where the next production assistant jobs are. Now, for those that don't know, production assistant, it's like pretty much one step above an intern. It's basically an intern, except you do get paid a little bit. You get, paid like minimum wage or whatever. It's an entry-level job. And that's what I was doing. And I was happy to do it because, I'm starting over. I'm starting at the bottom. But my goal was to be a writer. I don't want to be a production assistant again. If I don't have to be, I need to see how do I get closer to a writer. So I took that advice very seriously of, hang with the production assistants. They'll know where the next production assistant jobs are. So I'm like, well, by that logic, if I hang with the writers, maybe they'll know where the next writer jobs are. So making no small plans, I go to the head writer, who's the showrunner, and ask for a meeting, which he granted me. And I proceeded to, tell him all about myself. Journalist in Chicago for the last, decade or so, on and on and on. And as he listened to me, he said, I might have an opportunity for you, which was music to my ears. And he said, the next show that I'm working on is called The Chi. Now, mind you, this is before The Chi was a thing. So, I had no idea what this show was, but I'm just like, The Chi, you mean as in Chicago, And he's like, yeah, it's just gritty urban drama set on the south side of Chicago. And we've got all of these writers, here in LA. We need people who really know Chicago. And it sounds like, having been born and raised on the south side of Chicago and having been a journalist working in Chicago, you probably have a pretty deep knowledge. So I was like, absolutely, that is for sure. I definitely have a deep knowledge. So he had me to interview with the showrunner. The showrunner equally, interested, but said, I can't hire you as a writer. Would you take a writer's assistant job? And I said, absolutely, of course. Anything that will get me in that writer's room, I'd be happy to do it. So I worked on season 1 of The Chi as the writer's assistant. And about midway through, once the writer's room was wrapped, the showrunners then moved to Chicago to work on set. And they invited me to come along with them, which, it was not, the irony was not lost on me that I had left Chicago to come to LA only for my Chicago knowledge to get me my first job in the writer's room, only for them to ask me if I want to come back to Chicago to work on set. Yes, I got you. This is exactly what I wanted to do. Sure, perfect. So I had written, I had been working as a writer's assistant, got to Chicago and began working on set and, constantly working on, with the showrunners for scripts and so forth. And at that point, the showrunner then offered me a script and offered me the opportunity to write to co-write an episode. And so that was how I got my first credit, my first writing credit for a television show that I co-wrote episode 9 of season 1 of Showtime's The Chi.
Wow. That's really incredible. Like having that kind of luck to be like, oh, well, I already have this knowledge of my city. It's already here. And so like, yeah, it all came together that it's like, I'd say that like that whole time, like I feel like it was really lucky, like to have that kind of opportunity.
And let me stop you because I hear that a lot. And one thing when people ask me for advice and they want to hear my story, I always tell them, you can't duplicate my story. I can't even replicate my story. It's like it just happened. I couldn't have predicted it. It just happened as it happened. But there are some takeaways that I hope people will get. And, you call it luck if you want, but you need a lot more than luck to make it happen. Absolutely. In LA. And one of the things that I try to, out of that first story of how I even got to the showrunner, that wasn't about luck. That was about persistence. That was about boldness. That was about courage. As I said, people advised me, hang with the production assistants. It was me who said, no, that's not what I want to do. I want something else. I want something bigger. And so I went to the head of the production and said, may I have a meeting? That is the thing that I'd want people to take away, to have the courage to speak up for yourself, to ask for what you want, to say what you can offer. That would make the difference, because guess what? Luck would not have played any factor if I had not gotten myself that meeting with the showrunner to tell him about myself and so forth. So that was the key thing in that. Mm-hmm. Is it coincidence that I happen to be from Chicago and the whole time I'm in this meeting talking about Chicago and he happened to be working on a show called The Chi? I mean, to me, that's divine intervention, but it could have been anything. Right. One of the things that I do a retreat and workshop every year for people who are aspiring writers. It's actually coming up August 24th through 27th. And one of the things I tell people is, I try to teach people how to hone their stories. There's any number of different traits about you or your particular strength or knowledge that could resonate for a TV show. And honestly, when showrunners are looking to staff, they're listening for those kinds of things. What about you lines up with the show so that you can bring a unique perspective to this show? I mean, is it a show about baseball and you happen to be an avid collector of baseball cards and you are a walking statistician when it comes to baseball? Guess what? They probably want you in their writer's room. Is it a show about, people who grew up in small towns, going to Friday night football every night and, hanging out at the drive-in afterwards? Well, if I'm doing Friday Night Lights and that was your upbringing, I probably want you in my writer's room because you can give us some real life, authentic stories, right, to make our show seem real. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everybody has something in their life that resonates with a particular show, movie, film, etc. It's just a matter of matching it up to that. And so for me, it was just kismet that it just happened to be that the show he was working on next was set on the south side of Chicago, and that happened to be where I was from. But he never would have known that if I had not had the courage to raise my hand. Mm-hmm. Secondly, when they said, no, you can't be a writer, and that was my goal, I was like, I want to be a writer. They're like, no, you could be a writer's assistant. I've had a number of people say to me, well, why are you taking production assistant jobs and writer's assistant jobs? You are an Emmy-winning journalist. So, big deal. I'm starting all over again. Crawl before you can walk. So if I had not had the humility to say, oh no, I would expect to be a writer and, I don't want to be an assistant or whatever, I never would have even been in position for those opportunities to present themselves to me. So I say that to you, not to belabor the conversation, but I never like people to just kind of dismiss
absolutely
as luck, because absolutely. I'm so grateful that a lot of right things lined up for me, but it was also because I was strategic in putting myself in position for those things. So I was ready to meet the opportunity when they came to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I apologize for kind of putting that umbrella term of luck, because clearly you put in a lot of effort and you like you said, strategic about how to climb that ladder in your career. So yeah, that's really amazing. I appreciate you reiterating that fact as well. I think a lot of people will hear that coming into the industry, hearing like, oh, like you shouldn't be. I liked how you spoke upon like those assistant level jobs, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm not going to take an assistant level job. Well, you're not going to get far like into the job that you do want, because that's why people are still working these assistant level jobs, because the longer you work at it, the closer you'll get to the job that you do want to get at.
Exactly. And you learn so much in those jobs. You really do. You really do. If you apply yourself, you learn so much. And what I also found is when you work hard and you show that you've got drive and interest and all that kind of stuff, people will want to help you. They really will. Doors will open for you if people see that you really are, putting your best foot forward and, doing everything that you possibly can to help yourself, then they'll be willing to help you.
Mm-hmm. Incredible. Let's cover what was the most challenging part in your career?
The most challenging part. As
of now, yeah.
Wow, that's a great question. I want to have an answer. I really do.
That's okay.
The answer is similar to the answer that I gave when you asked what was my moment. I don't know that there's a defining, like, most challenging thing, because every time I move into every single thing has been new. I have had so many new opportunities since I've been on, from just even first time stepping foot on a set, first time, working as on a series, first time being on location, first time writing my own episode, first time being assigned a movie and writing a film. I wrote the Clark Sisters, First Ladies of Gospel, that aired on Lifetime. Now I'm trying to pitch and sell. I have a couple of different concepts, shows. I'm developing with producers and trying to hone a couple of projects. And I say I'm working with them. I meant pre-strike. I'm not working with them during the strike.
Right.
But pre-strike, we're working with them to try to get the perfect pitch so that we can then take them to studios and try to sell them. Each time I embarked on a new challenge, it was my most challenging moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the first time I was okay, this is your episode. So, take all of the stuff that we came and, write this episode of television. Oh my goodness. I thought my brain was going to explode.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh, well, now we've hired you to write a whole movie. And you don't have the benefit of a writer's room of, 6, 7, 8 other writers working with you, bouncing off ideas and so forth. Now you're sitting at your computer by yourself, gathering the information and trying to come up with something, all on your own. And you better make it good. It's like every time or trying to come up with an idea, a concept out of thin air and flesh out characters. Every single time, it's a new challenge. You add to that just kind of the political end of it. I mean, when you're dealing with producers, with studios, with showrunners, with other writers, my having come in kind of in the middle of the game, so to speak, a lot of those, I don't always know where the minefields are. So I'm learning the politics of the business and the intricacies and the, all of the, whose hand do you shake and, that kind of thing. I'm learning all of those things as I go. And, I don't always step lightly. Sometimes I have made, missteps or, not done exactly what I was supposed to do. And so each time it's a challenge and each time it's something new. I know when I was writing my movie, I had one of the people who is, who I consider a mentor. Every single thing about it was new. Every time the producers came and asked me for something else, that was new. Or every time the studio wanted me to do something different, that was new. And in Hollywood, there's a long track record of writers kind of being taken advantage of and asked to do things that they shouldn't do or that are outside of the contract or that kind of thing. And so I would frequently call him and go, okay, they just asked me this. Is that normal? Or they just told me to do that. Is that normal? And he was like, I think you should write a column or a podcast or something and just call it, is that normal? That would be my question, because because I had nothing to compare it to. I had no prior experience. I didn't know whether my experience was the norm or whether things that felt wonky to me really were wonky. So, I was, reaching out to someone who was more experienced, who could say, yeah, it's supposed to go this way. I know it feels weird, but, this is why they do this. Or what? They asked you to do that? Oh, no, tell them absolutely not, But the bottom line is I can't say there's one most challenging thing, because every single time I try something new, which is all the time, that becomes the biggest challenge.
It's always a new challenge with every assignment.
That's what I look for.
That's
what keeps life interesting.
Yeah, I find so much joy in that. Like being confronted with a challenge and being able to best it at the end of the day, being able to say, hey, I tackled this challenge to the best of my ability.
Absolutely.
And one more question before we head off for today. How would you define, I guess, success? Success is defined in a myriad of ways to a range of people throughout all of time. So for today's sake, how would you say you would walk away with success at the end of the day?
You are right. Success can be defined in so many different ways, but I would say for me, success, first and foremost, is personal. It's knowing that I am living a life that I'm proud of, that I feel good about, that I have people who love me and people who I love, who feel me and who feed my soul, that I have good relationships, that I am a beacon of light. I am a Christian, and so I'm a beacon of light for God and for the cause. All of those things make me happy personally. They fulfill me. Anything else, if I don't have that, I could work and be miserable. So it's grounding myself in what is good. I won't even just say what feels good, but grounding myself in what is good, so that I can sleep at night, knowing that, I've treated people well and I've been kind and I've been loving and I've tried to help somebody. Those things, first and foremost, make me feel like I am leading a successful life, that I'm doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. On a professional basis, it's when being successful for me, and this is not saying this is my golden, level of success for anybody else, but for me, what success looks like is being able to work on projects that make me feel proud to be associated with them, that are bringing some kind of joy to the world and to viewers and to people who have the opportunity to see it, and to also be able to make a living doing that. And for me, that's not a dollar amount. I mean, of course, I'd love to be a cajillionaire. I mean, I could just hit that mega millions,
Right.
It could be fun. But it's not even necessarily about a dollar amount. It's about being able to take care of myself and do well, have everything I need and a few things I want at least, by doing the thing that I actually love. I mean, especially when you talk about the TV and film industry, to be able to make your work and be paid to make your work is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful privilege. It really is.
Absolutely. I do have one more question, because the name of the podcast is called Pursuit. So I think I have to ask the question, what is your pursuit?
My pursuit in this industry is to make work that brings joy to the world. I know it sounds lofty, but it's true.
Yeah.
I want to make work that brings joy to the world, or at least to the segment of people who will indulge me. I put all of me into all of the work that I make. I pride myself on being a joyful person. There is enough sadness and cruelty and things of that nature in the world already.
Yeah.
I want to be a person who adds goodness and light. And that's what I'm in the pursuit of.
Thank you for Sylvia L Jones for joining me this episode. Her inspirational words don't have to stay here. She also hosts an annual workshop in Chicago to assist fellow writers in underrepresented communities. This has been The Pursuit, a NATAS Junior Board podcast. Thank you.